Yeah, administrative license suspension is it's kind of a weird situation when you think about it, because it's two parallel cases. And on the one hand, if the person goes in and gets their license suspended, that can make things easier for the prosecution, because, that's one thing that you were going to get with a conviction that is, already dealt with. On the other hand, as I had mentioned previously, they're submitting their witnesses to cross-examination before trial. So it gives the defense an opportunity to get some evidence and to lock, witnesses, in this case usually law enforcement, into statements pre-trial, and eventually and potentially help their case. But administrative license suspension is basically, DUI is a criminal offense and an administrative offense or offense. So it's illegal, it's a crime to drive while illegally intoxicated. Having a driver's license is considered a privilege. And so it's also an administrative violation with the Department of Driver Services. And so, excuse me, an ALS hearing is just a hearing about whether or not you get to keep your driver's license. And so what they'll do, and to be candid, a lot of law enforcement aren't doing it anymore, because it kind of takes the case out of the hands of the criminal prosecutor and says, okay, well, there's going to be some stuff happening in your case without you there and without your input. And then the other thing is there's more work for them. Like, they have to show up. And a lot of times, I think either the last ALS hearing I did or the one before that, it was just dismissed because the cop didn't show up. Really any agency can submit your license for administrative license suspension, but usually you just see it with state troopers. I mean, for the most part, not always, because they're required to. The state insists. If you get pulled over by GSP, you're going to get a notice of administrative license suspension, or I think that officer gets like a demerit or something if they don't do it. But yeah, they tend to not like to do it, because now you've taken, let's say you're not a state trooper, you're a sheriff's deputy or a municipal officer. Well, now you've got 2 court dates you've got to wake up for and go to. And a lot of the time, generally the officer pulling people over for DUI, it's, they're working the night shift. And so it's like, okay, we'll work all night, and then in the morning go down and attend this hearing and get cross-examined by some aggravating lawyer. And, it's just easier, particularly since, if the person is convicted for DUI, their license is going to be suspended anyway. So, generally just see it with state troopers. But it is something that people should be aware of. Like, if you get a citation and you get this ALS form, don't sit on it, because it's automatic if you don't contest it. They'll give you a date on there. They've actually extended it. It used to be, I think, 14 days a few years ago. You only had 2 weeks. And you have to send in that you're contesting it, and you have to send in money for a filing fee, and you have to do it within that window, and it's got to be postmarked by that time. Otherwise, your license is just suspended for a year. And a lot of times with that ALS, a good lawyer is going to have them sort of work hand in hand, not just with like having the hearing, but like if you can put off that ALS hearing and get the criminal case resolved. If you resolve that criminal case to anything less than a DUI, that ALS goes away. And so all you've got to do is notify the, I don't know what the word is, I want to call her a prosecutor, but the person who's the plaintiff, I guess, in that administrative case, the prosecutor for lack of a better word, you notify them that the case has been resolved either with a dismissal or a reduction to, say, reckless driving or something, and then they dismiss the ALS case. And even if you lose the ALS case, if you then subsequently resolve the case, the criminal case, to something less than a DUI, you can typically get that license reinstated sooner.